My friend Pedro told me many tales of his own warm land where spice-laden breezes blow gently soft, and at the time he told me his tales, we two were in the midst of the snows of Tierra del Fuego. I have felt it best to set this tale down as I have because Pedro never saw his own land again, so the writing of the story is in some measure done in affection for my friend. Number 4 in my Newbery Reading Challenge, we have the winner from 1925, Tales from Silverlands by Charles J. Finger. Charles Finger grew up in England. In his late teens, he went to sea. He traveled extensively through South America, Central America, North America, and Africa. He lived in South America for several years, which is where he collected the stories that he retells in this book. He studied music in Germany and then moved to the United States, where he began writing and started his own magazine. He retired to a farm so he could spend more time with his family, and that's when he began writing stories for children. Tales from Silverlands is a collection of stories from various countries in South America. Many of them include a framing narrative explaining how he came to hear the story, giving a little context to the people who told it, the place where he was, which adds a note of authenticity to the tales that's often missing from these kinds of collections. I don't know much about folk tales from this region, but it feels like Finger does a good job of being respectful of the cultures and the origins of the tales. However, I can't speak to how much he changed them, sanitized them, or westernized them. I have read a lot of collections of fairy and folk tales, including quite a few for children, and this is probably one of the best that I've read. He does sometimes even talk about why he rewrote or edited the stories or retold them and gives a little bit of his process, which I appreciated. They are being retold for children, but it doesn't feel like he's talking down to children or that he's simplified them for a child's audience. There are some fun little asides where he'll say, I'm going to give you the explanation of how I found this story, but if you want to skip that, go to where you see the 3 asterisks, which I found kind of funny. There's also one story where he says that it gets a little dark, so if you're scared and you're somebody who doesn't like to go out of the house after dark, then maybe skip over this story. But if you do read it, know that the story ends with the evil being defeated. So I thought that that was interesting, and he does it in a really great way. Honestly, the only criticism I really have for this book is I wish that there was a foreword or an afterword from the author giving a little bit more context as to where he had collected these, how he had collected them. It just starts with the first story, and even though he gives some framing for that story, I just feel like an introduction or something would have helped explain kind of where he's coming from with this particular collection. Overall, this was a really fascinating and well-written collection of folk tales. Again, I don't know how accurate or authentic they are, but they definitely seemed to be well done from my perspective, just from having read other collections. This book is in the public domain, so you can find a free version on Gutenberg. I will link that in the description. So if you want to read it yourself, your public library may have this, or you might be able to get a copy used, but you can read a free version on Project Gutenberg. There are some internal woodcut style. There's a couple of larger colorized ones as well as smaller ones at the beginning of each chapter. But I feel like if we repackaged this with a different cover, this would easily be something that you could put into a modern library and that children could pick up and read. So I am glad that I enjoyed this, particularly after I was less than excited about the last one. Up next, we have Shen of the Sea, which is another collection of stories. This is a collection of Chinese stories for children, written by Arthur Bowie Chrisman. So we shall see if I enjoy this as much as I did this one. Thanks and happy reading!